So today was my first time watching a boxing event in a while. I hadn't remember watching a live boxing event in a long time, unless boxing event that I was really hyped for. It's been a while, and obviously I watch a lot of UFC and MMA in the past few years, and it had become like routine. The MMA stuff, like press conference, weigh in, fight night, post fight press conference, like the UFC protocol is as a whole routine, and I found it refreshing to watch this boxing event. It was different. I had a lot of question about it. Really, some things just didn't make sense to me, like the whole weigh-in situation where there's like 100 people on stage, weigh in, where really we're just here to see two guys weigh in. Inside the ring as well. I don't understand why there's so many guys inside the ring during these boxing events. I don't understand why they do these press conference and we hear like Steven Espinosa talk about Showtime, or we hear fucking Leonard Ellerby talk about whatever, rehydration clause, or Oscar De La Hoya. I just don't understand it, right? Even though like obviously De La Hoya bring a little bit of heat to that press conference, to be fair, but usually it's not very important to hear about promoters and Showtime CEO. We don't really care about it, right? The press conference is really about bringing him some hype, bringing him some drama, hearing the fighters. It's really more about that. That's why I found the UFC protocol very simple, and it's easier to watch, right? Whereas it seems the boxing stuff is so much more like organized, to a point where it just becomes like it just feels business. It just feels like we're trying to make money off of this shit. There's so many people making money off of this shit. So but this is why these boxing fighters gets paid so much more than the UFC, right? Because they have more leverage. There's different promoters and all this other stuff. But it's not the conversation we're trying to have. I just found it obviously refreshing to see something new than the UFC, what I've been focused on for the past few years. But also, obviously, there's a lot of questions, and I think, to be honest, the boxing world could use a lot of what Dana White has done in the UFC to simplify their method, and also to make the press conference and the lead up to the fight so much more enjoyable to watch for the fans. To be honest, to be fair, the lead up to a fight is almost more important than the fight itself, right? The fight lasts, usually less than 30 minutes. Boxing events maybe up to 35 minutes, 36 minutes. I think that's the max. And then in MMA, max is 25 minutes. The fight doesn't last very long. What's the greatest part about watching combat sports is the lead up to these fights, these mega fights that we want to see so badly. That's what's so interesting. So the promoters that are able to sell the fights the best way possible for the audience is the best ones, in my opinion. And when I say, obviously, promoting a fight, it's not just about how much you do it, but how efficiently you do it as well. Like how you're able to captivate our attention without doing just too much, without just being too nerdy. I don't know how to explain this. This boxing event felt nerdy at times, but this is what boxing has been for a long time, and I don't think it's going to change for a while. It's just, I just felt like I had to point out these differences before we head into the meat and greedy of what happened during the fight nights. Honestly, it was still great fun. It was still entertaining to watch these two, because they put on like they worked for their money, you know what I mean? They earned what they had to get to. So at the end of the day, it was still very entertaining. But like I said, I think the boxing world could steal a page out of the UFC. What was so impressive to me the most about these two young fighters, these two young boxing stars, was their confidence just never seemed to lack or crack at such a young age, right? We see Ryan Garcia, he's a 24-year-old dude. Hadn't fought, honestly, he had been a while since he fought, maybe a year. Last fought in July. So it's been like, 10 months or something like that. During the whole lead up, it didn't seem like there was a crack in their confidence at all. He never showed a sign of weakness. And obviously, maybe I didn't anticipate it, but I would assume that there would be one of the two that would, take the B-side approach to a certain extent. But both of them were extremely confident. It's great to see. young fighters just staying composed, staying calm, staying relaxed. I think, what we saw tonight during the fight was not like someone like beat. How can I explain this? We didn't see someone like cracking under the pressure and just failing because of outside circumstances, if you get what I'm saying. We saw two guys at their best and someone was just better. You know what I mean? That's just what it was. At the end of the day, I truly believe Gervonta Davis proved that he was levels above Ryan Garcia. I think a lot of people knew this from the get-go. To be honest, obviously this is a biased channel. I wanted Ryan Garcia to win. I just thought Ryan Garcia was better for the sport of boxing. I thought Ryan Garcia was the guy that tried to push for this fight a lot. He really tried to like make this fight happen at all costs, obviously taking the rehydration clause, the weight cut issues, the petty things that obviously they all brought up during the lead up to the fight. And he just seemed to be the one guy that really pushed to get that fight going. Whereas Gervonta Davis, I think he would have been fine fighting, A, B, C, D competition, other dudes making his money. I didn't think he really needed to fight Ryan Garcia as much as Garcia needed to fight Davis. So that's why I thought he would be great. Also, I heard Garcia said that if he had won that fight against Davis, he was going to call out Devin Haney and stuff. So that's just great to see if you're a boxing fan, that these dudes just want to fight each other. They want to fight the best. And you see now Davis fought, and I didn't hear him talk about Devin Haney. I didn't hear him talk about Lomachenko. I didn't hear him talk about Shakur Stevenson. It's just he's just more in his bubble. I think he's a killer. I think he's one of the best, probably the best 135 pounder in boxing right now. But he doesn't seem to apply pressure as much as Garcia did. That's why I really felt like Garcia was the best thing to happen for boxing. But at the end of the day, whether he's great for boxing or no, he just wasn't in the same playing field with Gervonta Davis, right? I know he called for a rematch. I think the same would happen again and again and again and again until Gervonta Davis gets out of his prime or something, because there was just no playing field. It was not even, to be honest, it didn't even felt close. Every time they came close, Gervonta Davis just had the better of the exchanges, more power, more pop. He was just more comfortable in there. The experience showed as well. And it's funny because obviously Garcia is the one guy that you can see like, oh, he's just, all these situations where people would call him like a TikTok guy or like this YouTube, which is kind of corny, right? He didn't get his followers from YouTube. He was a boxer from the beginning, but obviously he's like a big social media presence. So people try to put that on him like, oh, you're only a social media boxer or some shit like that. And I guess, to be honest, if we're being real, this was as close as it gets to like being quote unquote exposed as a fighter, right? It's rare that it happens to be like, oh, this fighter got exposed. I don't want to say he got exposed, but like I said, it was as close as it comes to a fighter being exposed for being not really the fighter that he claims to be. It's sad to say because we should never say that about a fighter that puts it on the line. I'll always say this, right? When you make the walk to the octagon, you're a warrior forever, and you deserve respect forever. But in terms of skills, right, there was a definite gap. Yeah, Garcia really needs to work on his boxing fundamentals and skills. I think his speed and agility and power has got him the victories that he's got in the past. But if he wants to fight like the top level fighters that has granite chins the way, Gervonta Davis has, he's going to struggle. You know what I mean? He's going to struggle. And you could see it, like he would like spam the left hook over and over again. They talked about this in the press conference, like the fact that Ryan Garcia really only had a left hook, and Davis had all the counters for the left hook ready to go, ready to shoot, right? The first knockdown was a slip under, and I think it was a right hand or a left hand, one of the two. He slipped under, threw a right, and knocked him down, right? Off of a left hook. Same thing happened for the body shot. He threw a left hook, slip under, they got in a like kind of a scramble, and then threw the body shot. It just felt like he was ready for everything that Garcia threw at him, and it showed like his levels. It's just levels above. At the end of the day, I think this was a mega event for boxing. I've said this before, but I think the lead up to these fights are more important than the fight itself. The fight was great. It was entertaining, right? It wasn't like the greatest fight of all time or anything like that. But you just have to be grateful and thankful for these two young fighters to actually put it on the line, especially Ryan Garcia, obviously, who lost tonight. But at the end of the day, you have to be grateful for someone like that who took the risk and made it happen when a lot of the boxing world, a lot of these boxing promoters, I don't want to, because we just don't know, right? We don't know if it's fighters ducking fighters, promoters ducking promoters, but we all know the storylines by now. And that boxing has been just dead in the past few years, and this is one of those fights that can revive it. And I hope it sparks something in the boxing world. And we hear about some great fights coming up, right? There's Devin Haney versus Lomachenko. There's also Teofimo Lopez versus, Josh Taylor, 140-pound champion. So look, there's also another one, but look, we have to be grateful for Davis and Garcia to have put this fight and made it happen, so that, like I said, it can spark something in the next generation of fighters, or even the current generation of fighters, to realize that, at the end of the day, if I finish my career and I didn't fight the top guys, what was the point of all of it, Because you're always going to have an asterisk next to your legacy because you didn't fight the guys you were supposed to fight in the time you were supposed to fight them. So there's so many great fights to make. We want to see Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence. We want to see Usyk versus Tyson Fury. We want to see those big fights happen, and they need to happen ASAP, right? This is why the UFC has been successful because they just don't waste time. They make the great fight that we want to see, and they make it happen. That's how a sport grows, and that's how a fighter grows and evolves as well. Even if they're ready or not, they'll grow from that stuff. So the big fights need to happen, and if they can't happen, I don't think we should. You're in the right sport as a fighter. If you're a boxer but you feel like you shouldn't fight the best, then you're not in the right sport, and that's just how it is. I think this was a refreshing time in boxing, and I hope we see more of them. I truly do. So I'm gonna go get some sleep, but I'll catch y'all very soon. I'm tired as fuck, but yeah, wish me a great night, guys. Peace out.